If you're driving or riding on dirt this summer, don't leave home without the onX Off-Road GPS app. For less than a tank of gas, get access to 550,000 miles of trails and roads and 985 million acres of public land for camping, fishing, exploring, and all of your outdoor adventures. Go to onxoffroad.com and use the code OJ at checkout for 20% off right now.
Hello, I'm Scott Brady, and I'm out here on our test track with the new Ram 1500 Backcountry. We've got Nakota driving, and we're going to take it through our test track today. When we look at an individual vehicle for off-road performance, we're always looking for driver confidence. And one of the best ways to do that is see how stable the vehicle feels on a side slope like this, which is at 25 degrees, which for most people feels about at their limits. But this vehicle is very stable. Now, the interesting thing about the airbag suspension is if you were to get even more of an angle, you can actually lower the vehicle down for a lower center of gravity. So that's where the tools of like an airbag suspension starts to make a difference. All right, so the next thing that we're looking at here is articulation. With an independent front suspension, especially a pickup truck that's gonna have a heavy front anti-sway bar and no disconnect, we're gonna have very limited articulation in the front, but we'll have better articulation in the rear, which is what we're experiencing with this 5-link airbag suspension in the back. So we're getting good rear articulation. The rear tires are still on the ground, but the front is lifted up off the ground. So what starts to happen is we begin to lose traction. And the next thing that this backcountry edition of the Ram has is what's called traction control. So as Nakota starts to come forward, you'll see that he'll start to spin, and he's gonna feed it power, and it'll actually pull the vehicle through the spot. All right. Now there's another way to do that. This vehicle has even one more feature available as an off-road vehicle. So it has a rear locking differential. Now the rear diff is locked, and you'll notice when he comes through this time, the vehicle will, with no drama at all, just comes right through the obstacle. And that has a couple advantages. It makes it much more gentle on the vehicle, but even more important, it makes it much more gentle on the terrain, because we always want to be treading lightly as much as we can. All right, so the next thing that we want to look at is, what is this truck, let's say it does get stuck, what does it have for vehicle recovery? We're always looking for the quality and the rating of the front tow hooks. We know that on Jeeps and on Rams that these front tow hooks are rated at least to gross vehicle weight rating. So for a vehicle like this, you're talking over 7,000 pounds of pulling force on these closed eyes right here. So these are heavy duty eyes that you can run a strap through. You can even run a soft shackle because they don't have any hard edges, or you can of course run a screw pin D-shackle as well. In the front, we've got a high clearance front bumper, so they've done what they can to improve the approach angle. And then in the rear, they have these super clever, I've never seen them before, but it's kind of like a mud flap, but it's a very low profile mud flap. So even if you're backing up in the sand, it won't get ripped off. We can see Nakota coming through here. We've got good modulation. The vehicle's not lurching, he's got good control. And that's also what we look for when we evaluate vehicles, is how effective we can be with throttle and brake modulation. Is the vehicle lurching? Is it surging under throttle application? Or are the brakes really grabby and hard to modulate? So we can see Nakota's doing a great job navigating through here with the vehicle. It shows his years of experience. So with this Backcountry edition, we have a few more things that we're going to be able to look at here. So we have 18-inch black wheels. We have all-terrain Falken tires. These are mud and snow rated. So far they're performing well on our track. You also have, with this particular option vehicle, we have an airbag suspension. And I think this is actually one of the things that is most unique for the 1500 Ram. So I have front and rear air suspension, which is multi-height as well. So I can go into entry access mode, making it easier for people to get in and out, or loading up stuff at Home Depot, for example, loading in a camper, loading in other things into the vehicle. And then I can go into aero mode, which is what allows this vehicle to get up over 20 miles per gallon with this e-torque hybrid Hemi motor. And then it also has a normal height, which for just driving around town gives good ride quality. And then of course we have an off-road mode, which gives us maximum ground clearance, which we're actually seeing here. So it really makes the vehicle flexible, even in stock form, to get over all kinds of obstacles. All right, let's go through some of the cons on this truck. The side steps, they're gonna need to come off really early or they're gonna get ripped off on the trail. They're not structural, they're just for a step. They do have some advantages with rock chips and throwing mud, but need to be mindful that the capability of this truck is really going to be limited by those side steps. The other thing that I noticed on the road is this hybrid drivetrain. I'm getting some inconsistency around tip-in with the throttle. So I'm getting some surging out of the vehicle. But what's interesting is that they have mapped the throttle just perfect for off-road. So they've taken advantage of the torque of that electric motor in combination with the torque of the Hemi to provide a very smooth driver input. So I'd like to see some of that be applied on the street as well, because I'm not getting that consistency or that confidence-inspiring throttle tip-in when I'm on the road. We're seeing an assembly of a lot of new technology in this truck. We're seeing 4-corner airbag suspension. We're seeing a hybrid drivetrain. We've got rear locking differential. We've got all-terrain tires. We've got a bunch of new features that has not been part of the Ram 1500 lineup until recent years. So we're seeing more and more capability out of these full-size half-ton trucks. Just the fact that we have a 5-link rear suspension is such an improvement. And imagine putting a camper in the back of this truck. So we're gonna have that auto load leveling from the airbag suspension. And it just continues to give us this improved overall capability and utility out of a pickup. It's just really exciting to see this kind of development in the full-size truck market.